Behind every royal headline, there's a hidden truth. The world is watching the crown once again. This is Golden Crown Insider, where royal secrets become headlines. Today's story is not just the biggest royal scandal of 2026. It is arguably the biggest royal scandal in modern British history. A story that has been building for years through settlements, through denials, through a disastrous BBC interview, through Epstein files and court documents and international investigations, and that finally, on the morning of February 19th, 2026, arrived at the moment the palace had been dreading for a very long time. The day a former member of the British royal family was arrested. On his own birthday. We are talking about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, Duke of York, brother of the King of England. And as of this week, the subject of a criminal investigation that has just expanded in ways that have sent shockwaves through every level of the British establishment. Subscribe right now if you are new here. Hit that bell, because this story is moving fast and Golden Crown Insider is taking you inside every layer of it. Let's start with the arrest itself, because the details matter. On February 19, 2026, his 66th birthday, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was arrested by Thames Valley Police on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The arrest came after weeks of new revelations emerging from the Epstein files, millions of documents released by the United States Department of Justice that had been sealed for years. Stylecaster his birthday. The police chose his birthday. Whether that timing was deliberate or simply procedural, the symbolism was not lost on anyone. Andrew was held in police custody for 11 hours. He was questioned throughout the entire day by detectives. He was then released under investigation, meaning he was neither charged nor exonerated. The investigation continues. Marie Claire released under investigation. That phrase is doing an enormous amount of work. It means the case is open. It means the police have enough to justify continued investigation, but have not yet assembled the full picture they need to charge him. It is a legal limbo that, for a man who has spent years trying to distance himself from the Epstein story, is perhaps the most uncomfortable place he could possibly be. King Charles did not stay silent. In a break from the usual practice of issuing statements through Buckingham Palace, Charles issued a personal statement signed Charles R., using his own name directly. He said he had learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and suspicion of misconduct in public office. And then he delivered a line that left no room for ambiguity. The law must take its course. IMDb: the law must take its course. From a king. About his own brother. On his brother's birthday. In 73 words, Charles had done something that the royal family rarely does. He had stepped aside. He had made clear that the institution of the monarchy would not protect Andrew. That whatever came next, whatever the investigation found, whatever charges followed or did not follow, the crown was not going to be a shield. That was not just a statement. It was a signal. And everyone in Britain understood exactly what it meant. But to truly understand why this moment is so enormous, why it lands with the weight that it does, you need to understand the full history of what brought Andrew to a police station on his 66th birthday. Because this story did not start in February 2026. It started decades ago. And it has never, not once, been fully resolved. Jeffrey Epstein. That name has haunted the royal family for years. A convicted sex offender. A man who trafficked young women and girls to some of the most powerful people in the world. And a man who, according to every credible account, was one of Andrew's closest friends. Multiple women alleged over many years that Epstein arranged for them to travel to the United Kingdom to sleep with the former prince. Andrew has consistently denied all of those allegations. IMDb: one of those women, Virginia Giuffre, sued Andrew directly. She alleged she was trafficked by Epstein and forced to have sex with Andrew on 3 occasions, including when she was 17 years old. Andrew denied it. He denied it publicly, in a BBC New Night interview in November 2019 that became one of the most extraordinary pieces of television in royal history, a masterclass, many said, in how not to handle a crisis. During that interview, Andrew offered explanations that the public found difficult to accept. He said he had no recollection of meeting Giuffre despite a photograph showing them together. He said he was at a Pizza Express in Woking on the relevant evening. He said he could not sweat at the time due to an adrenaline condition following the Falklands War. The reaction was immediate and devastating. Within days, Andrew had stepped back from all public duties. In 2022, Andrew settled out of court with Virginia Giuffre. The terms were confidential. He made no admission of wrongdoing. But the settlement itself, the decision to pay rather than fight, was read by many as its own kind of statement. He was stripped of his HRH title. He was stripped of his military affiliations. He was stripped of his royal patronages. Everything that connected him to the institution he had spent his life representing gone. Hello. And then, just when it seemed the story had finally reached its conclusion, the Epstein files arrived. The United States Department of Justice released millions of Epstein files. Unredacted. Unsanitized. And among those files, emails suggesting that Andrew had forwarded classified government trade reports to Jeffrey Epstein while serving as a UK trade envoy. Hello. Not just a friendship. Not just attendance at parties. Government secrets. Classified information. Sent to a convicted sex offender. That is the allegation that turned a years-long scandal into a criminal investigation. Detectives from Thames Valley Police began searching Royal Lodge, Andrew's former home in Windsor, a 30-room mansion, going through it room by room. A second police force was also investigating Andrew's former protection officers, the men who accompanied him around the world and who, investigators believe, may have witnessed things at Epstein's properties that were never reported. Marie Claire, 2 police forces. 1 former royal. 1 enormous mansion being searched room by room. And a net of potential witnesses that extends far beyond Andrew himself. And now, just 2 days ago, the story expanded again. In a development that many royal observers described as potentially the most serious twist yet. British police confirmed that the investigation into Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has now expanded beyond misconduct in public office to include allegations of sexual misconduct. Specifically, reports emerged that Jeffrey Epstein sent a non-British woman to Andrew's residence at Royal Lodge in 2010. Police have reportedly been in contact with the woman and her lawyers. Yahoo read that again. A woman sent to Andrew's home in 2010. And the police are now talking to her. Just yesterday, May 22, 2026, British police issued a public appeal for new witnesses to come forward in the Andrew Mountbatten Windsor investigation. It was the first significant public update since the February arrest. And the appeal was aimed specifically at anyone who may have information about Andrew's relationship with Epstein or events connected to that relationship. International Business Times a public appeal for witnesses. 3 months after the arrest. With the investigation now covering both classified document leaks and sexual misconduct allegations. This is not a story winding down. This is a story that is widening. Legal experts have noted that because the investigation now encompasses sexual misconduct, willful neglect of official duties, and potentially fraudulent behavior, navigating the evidentiary requirements will take considerable time. A formal decision by the Crown Prosecution Service on whether to authorize charges may still be months away. Andrew has not been charged with any crime and continues to strongly deny all allegations. Woman and home months away. Which means the story, already one of the most damaging in the history of the British royal family, is not going anywhere. It will be present through the summer, through the autumn, perhaps through the end of the year, perhaps longer. And every day it remains open, it asks the same questions of the institution that the Crown built over 1,000 years. Questions about who knew what and when. About how a convicted sex offender maintained a friendship with a senior royal for decades. About what the protection officers saw. About what the classified documents contained. About what happened at Royal Lodge in 2010. Now let's talk about what this means for the monarchy itself. Because that is the part of the story that goes beyond Andrew. Andrew's arrest is believed to be the first arrest of a UK royal since King Charles I in the 17th century, following his defeat in the English Civil War. Hello. The first arrest of a British royal in over 300 years. Let that land. 300 years of monarchy. Wars, abdications, scandals, divorces that split the Church of England from Rome, and in all of that history, no royal had been arrested. Until now. King Charles has spent his reign trying to stabilize and modernize an institution that was already under enormous pressure. The cost of the monarchy. The relevance of the monarchy. The relationship between the monarchy and a changing, diverse, questioning Britain. Those conversations were already difficult before February 19th. Now, added to all of that, the brother of the king is under criminal investigation. His former home is being searched. Witnesses are being sought. Sexual misconduct allegations are being investigated. And the palace is reduced to saying the law must take its course, which is the institutional equivalent of stepping as far away as possible from a fire that is burning out of control. Both Prime Minister Keir Starmer and King Charles have publicly stated that no individual sits above the jurisdiction of British justice. Woman and home, no individual sits above the jurisdiction of British justice. Even a prince. Even the king's brother. Even someone who once wore the uniform of a naval officer and served in the Falklands. Even someone who represented this country to the world for decades as a trade envoy. None of it matters when the law comes knocking. And the law did come knocking. On his birthday. With 11 hours of questioning. And a search of his home that is still ongoing. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has denied everything. He has denied it for years. He will continue to deny it. He has not been charged. He may never be charged. The Crown Prosecution Service may ultimately decide the evidence is insufficient. That possibility exists. But here is the truth that sits underneath all the legal language and all the careful statements and all the years of denial. Whether Andrew is ever charged or not, the story of who he was and what he did and who he did it with is already written. It is written in court documents, in settlement agreements, in Epstein files, in the emails that were forwarded, in the testimony of women who have spent years trying to be heard. The palace cannot erase it. The settlement could not buy it away. The BBC interview could not explain it away. And a life of royal privilege, the palaces, the uniforms, the titles, the position, could not protect him from the moment when the police came to his door. The law took its course, the way it always does eventually, regardless of who your brother is. And for the British monarchy, an institution that has survived everything history has thrown at it for 1,000 years, this is the chapter that nobody wanted to write. The chapter that Charles is now living through while managing his own cancer, while trying to rebuild bridges with Harry, while trying to position the crown for the reign of William that will one day follow. There is no good outcome here for the royal family. Only degrees of damage. Only the quiet hope that the institution survives what one of its own members did in the shadow of Jeffrey Epstein. The world is watching the crown. And right now, the crown has no answers. Only the same line, repeated quietly, with the weight of everything behind it. The law must take its course. If this video gave you the full picture, give it a thumbs up right now. Share it with someone who needs to understand this story completely. And if you are not yet subscribed to Golden Crown Insider, do it now. Every single day, we bring you the truth behind the royal headlines. The ones that reveal what this family is truly carrying beneath the crown. This is Golden Crown Insider. And we will see you in the next one.